story that sits right at the intersection of political power and massive personal wealth. It all starts with one truly enormous number and a very, very serious accusation. In this explainer, we're going to unpack how, according to a number of reports, a presidency could allegedly generate a staggering fortune for one family.
Okay, just look at that number. $1.4 billion. According to reporting from big sources like Bloomberg and the New York Times, that's the incredible amount that Donald Trump's family business allegedly raked in during his second term in office. I mean, a number that big, it doesn't just raise eyebrows, right? It raises some really fundamental questions. And those questions have led critics to pull out a really powerful word: kleptocracy. It's a heavy term. As you can see, it basically means a government where the people in charge are using their power to enrich themselves, at the expense of everybody else. The allegation, to put it simply, is that the presidency itself became a tool for making money.
So, that's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? If this number is what these sources are claiming, how on earth did it happen? Well, let's take a look at the alleged pathways to that profit, which critics say really break down into two main areas. So, the first pillar of this whole financial story, based on the reports we've looked at, involves the wild world of cryptocurrency. Now, this is an industry that's already then at the heart of so much debate, and according to some, it's right at the center of this alleged enrichment too. And when you look at how critics see it, their assessment is, well, it's blunt. Author Ben McKenzie, when he was speaking to MSNBC, he really didn't mince words. He called the former president's moves in the crypto space an open grift, which is basically like saying it's a scam happening right out in the open for everyone to see. So this is the alleged playbook right here. Based on reporting from Mint, critics have outlined this pretty clear four-step process. First, you sign legislation that's friendly to the crypto industry. Next, you appoint regulators who are also favorable. Then, what happens? Major lawsuits against the industry get dropped. And the final step, the bottom line, a huge jump in family wealth. The allegation is a straight line, connecting policy directly to profit. But the story doesn't stop with crypto, not at all. The second pillar broadens the whole thing out to more traditional business deals, which critics say kept making money and maybe even got a boost from his time in the White House. This table, which is based on New York Times reporting, kind of lays out those wider claims. You've got everything from profiting from personal businesses and foreign entities, all the way to the biggest concern of all, that national policy was actually shaped to help the family's financial interests. It suggests a pattern that critics say goes way beyond just cryptocurrency. So, okay, with all these specific allegations out there, what does it all mean for the big picture? How do analysts read this for the overall health of the U.S. political system? For that, we're going to turn to the perspective of political analyst Ian Bremmer. Bremmer's take is a bit more nuanced. He argues that, yeah, there are some serious issues here, but it's really important to understand exactly what kind of threat we're talking about. He draws a really critical line between two very different ideas. And here's the core of his argument. On one side, he admits that U.S. politics has become much more pay-to-play. It's showing some of those traits of a kleptocracy. But, and this is the key distinction he makes, on the other side, he says the basic institutions of democracy haven't been torn down. Bremmer believes that while the system is definitely under stress, those checks and balances are still there, stopping what he would call a real strongman takeover. All right, so let's boil this all down. What are the key takeaways? First, this blurry line between making public policy and making personal money is the absolute central concern here. Second, you have critics who have laid out a very specific set of actions that they allege led to over $1.4 billion in family wealth. And finally, there's a real debate going on among analysts about what all this really means, what kind of threat this actually poses to the U.S. political system. And all of this leaves us with the one fundamental question at the heart of this entire explainer. In any democracy, for any leader, where do we draw the line? Where should we draw the line between a leader's official policies and their own personal profit? It's a question that's so much bigger than any one person. It really gets to the core of what we expect from the people we choose to lead us.